The sun painted the north shore of Oahu in pink and gold as the surfers lined up on the beach. They were focused on the enormous waves. Mia Taylor was one of them, a professional surfer renowned for her fearless spirit and fierce competition. She was considered a firm favorite for the Pacific Surf Championship finals. As competitors paddled off, the crowd was buzzing with excitement. Each competitor was determined to show their skills on these infamous Hawaiian waves. Mia felt that familiar rush of excitement as she positioned her body, waiting for the perfect waves to ride. From the shore, her family and friends cheered for her. Their support was a constant strength. The crowd cheered as Mia caught the massive wave. She moved in perfect harmony with the waves, maintaining an ideal balance. A dark shadow appeared just as she was about to execute a crucial maneuver. The atmosphere changed from excitement to terror in an instant. The shark appeared without warning, its massive body cut through the water at a terrifying pace. Mia felt an intense pain in her left leg when the shark bit into it. She felt panic as she struggled with her head above the water. The spectators screamed, and the event safety team began racing toward her on jet skis. Mia's mind was racing with fear and shock as she was hurried to the shore on a jet ski. On the beach, medical personnel immediately administered first aid. She was taken to hospital immediately after the attack, which left a deep cut on her leg. The incident sent shockwaves throughout the surfing community. The attack was broadcast by news outlets worldwide, casting a shadow on the championship. It also sparked a heated discussion about the safety and security of surf competitions. The fact that the shark attack occurred at a high-profile surf competition, despite all safety measures being in place, was a cause for concern. A cascade of emotions replaced Mia's initial shock as she lay in bed. Physical pain was severe, but mental and emotional suffering was even worse. She replayed over and over the moment of attack, the fear and pain and what-ifs. She was still concerned about the safety of her fellow surfers, and she continued to love the sport. Mia was determined to ensure no surfer had to endure such a traumatizing experience. She began to speak up. She gave interviews from her hospital bed, urging a thorough review of safety protocol at surfing events. Her story, amplified because of her surfing status, attracted significant attention. Mia argued for improved emergency medical services at all surfing competitions and increased competition water surveillance, including using drones and spotters to detect sharks. Her firm, clear voice resonated with many and turned her tragedy into an effective campaign for change. As she began her recovery journey, Mia's campaign gained momentum. Surfers, safety advocates, and fans worldwide echoed her call for change. Her ordeal highlighted a crucial gap in safety measures for the sport. And thanks to her bravery and determination, steps are being taken to close that gap. Mia Taylor's call for better safety standards in surfing events quickly grew into a more significant movement. As Mia recovered, her hospital bed became a hub for strategy sessions with experts in safety, meetings with organizers of events, and media interviews. Mia's commitment to safer surf competitions grew with each public discussion and appearance. Her advocacy led her to establish the Mia Taylor Safety Initiative. This nonprofit organization is dedicated to improving surfing and other water sports safety protocols. The initiative worked with shark behavior and marine biologists to develop better risk management strategies. They advocated using shark deterrent technologies, such as electromagnetic or acoustic devices, that could be integrated into surf competitions without harming marine wildlife. The response of the surfing community has been overwhelmingly positive. Many prominent surfers who once thought they were invincible regarding the unpredictable ocean now supported Mia. They also shared their stories of close calls and other concerns, often kept secret for fear that they would cause panic or damage the sport's image. Mia's efforts also resonated with surfers' families and the wider public. Her initiative led to the creation of rapid response teams and highly trained medical and rescue personnel who can handle emergencies at sea. The teams trained local surfers in popular destinations and were stationed during significant competitions. Pacific Surf Championship was the first event to adopt these new standards. Mia had been attacked during this event. The competition the following year included new safety features, including drone surveillance, medical teams on site with trauma expertise, and multiple safety vessels equipped with shark deterrent systems. Mia felt pride and nostalgia as she watched the game from the sidelines. Her leg had fully recovered, but her perspective was forever altered. She saw the ocean as it always was, but now with her marks. The surfers were confident, not only because of their skills and adrenaline, but also because they knew their safety would be taken seriously. Mia's advocacy had a far more significant impact than changing how the showing competitions are run. It started a global discussion about the relationship between people and wildlife. Understanding and respecting the natural habitats in which sport and recreation occur was highlighted. Mia's mission and story inspired schools and educational programs to include ocean safety and conservation issues. Mia's memoir, Beyond the Break, chronicled her transformation from a competitive surfer to a safety activist. It was a bestseller and inspired surfers and anyone facing adversity. Mia traveled the world to speak at conferences and workshops. She was committed to promoting resilience and safety in the face of nature's challenges. Mia Taylor turned a personal tragedy into a legacy that embodied safety and empowerment. Her work and name lived on through the policies she helped shape and in the hearts and minds of those she inspired. In the vibrant waters off Gansbaye, South Africa, known as the Great White Shark Capital of the world, Alex Thompson, a young and eager adventurer, embarked on what was supposed to be the thrill of a lifetime. It was a crisp morning in 2003, and Alex, with his heart set on experiencing the majestic great whites in their natural habitat, had joined a reputable shark cage diving operation. As the boat approached the dive site, the air buzzed with excitement and a hint of nervousness. Though no stranger to extreme sports, Alex felt a unique adrenaline surge at the prospect of coming face to face with one of nature's most formidable predators. The crew briefed the group, emphasizing safety protocols and the rarity of any danger. The cage was a sturdy steel bar structure designed to withstand the power of the great whites while offering unobstructed views. As the cage was lowered into the water, Alex's enthusiasm drowned out any flickers of fear. He descended into the blue, the visibility clear enough to see the sandy bottom and the curious shadows that began to circle. The first sight of a great white, its graceful power, left Alex in awe. The sharks moved with a calm authority, their eyes revealing an ancient intelligence. But the wonder turned to horror in an instant. A loud snap echoed through the water, and Alex suddenly jolted. The cage door, a victim of a rare but catastrophic technical failure, had swung open, exposing Alex to the open ocean and the circling great whites. Panic surged as he grasped the situation, his mind racing for a solution. With the door flung wide, Alex pressed his back against the cage's far side, trying to make himself as small as possible. The sharks, curious about the anomaly in their domain, came closer. Their sheer size and the ease with which they moved through the water were a terrifying beauty to behold. Alex knew that flailing or showing panic could trigger a predatory response. He made eye contact with one of the sharks, a moment that felt like an eternity, a silent conversation between species. Holding Alex's gaze, the shark glided past the cage, close enough for him to see the scars that marked its skin, a testament to its wild existence. At that moment, Alex realized the fine line between respect and recklessness in seeking adventure in the natural world. He signaled frantically for help, using the emergency procedure the crew had briefed them on. Above, the crew's swift response was underway, but each second underwater stretched on, filled with the acute awareness of his vulnerability and the shark's dominance. The crew worked with practiced urgency, aware of the gravity of the situation. A rescue diver equipped with a pole to guide the sharks away and secure the cage door was quickly deployed. Alex watched as the diver approached, admiring the calmness with which he navigated the tense situation, a calmness Alex tried to mirror. The ordeal, lasting only a few minutes but feeling like hours, ended with Alex safely extracting from the water and securing the cage door. Back on the boat with his heart still racing, Alex was consumed by a whirlwind of emotions: gratitude for his safety, awe at the power of the great whites, and a newfound respect for nature's untamed wildness. As the boat returned to shore, Alex knew this experience would leave an indelible mark on him. The beauty and terror of the great whites, the fragility of human inventions in the face of nature's might, and the ethical questions surrounding wildlife tourism swirled in his mind. even as he realized his story was just beginning. As the boat returned to the safety of Gansbai's harbor, Alex Thompson sat wrapped in a blanket, his body still shaking from adrenaline and shock. The crew's experienced handling of the situation had prevented a potential tragedy, but the gravity of what had occurred hung heavily in the air. Alex's mind replayed the moment the cage door had snapped open, the cold rush of fear, and the imposing figures of the great whites that had circled him. In the following days, Alex's extraordinary encounter with the great whites off the coast of South Africa quickly transformed from a personal testament of survival into a global sensation. The footage, captured by the dive company's underwater cameras, went viral, showcasing the harrowing moments of Alex's vulnerability and the majestic beauty of the great whites in their natural habitat. The video sparked widespread debate across social media platforms, news outlets, and conservation circles. Discussions centered on the ethics of wildlife tourism, particularly practices that put both humans and animals in potential danger. Critics argued that such close encounters with predatory animals were inherently risky, blurring the line between respectful observation and intrusive thrill-seeking. In contrast, proponents highlighted the educational value and conservation awareness that responsible wildlife tourism could promote. Amidst the whirlwind of media attention, Alex found himself at the center of a conversation much more extensive than his personal experience. Interviews and talk show appearances followed, where he shared his story, emphasizing not the fear he had felt, but the awe and respect for the great whites. His message was clear. These creatures were not mindless killers, but complex beings deserving of our respect and protection. The viral nature of his story also prompted discussions about safety measures in shark cage diving operations. The dive company thoroughly investigated and improved its procedures and equipment to prevent future malfunctions. The incident served as a wake-up call to the industry, underscoring the importance of rigorous safety standards and regular equipment checks. For Alex, the experience catalyzed a deeper engagement with marine conservation. Moved by his encounter, he became an advocate for the protection of shark habitats and a vocal supporter of sustainable wildlife tourism practices. He partnered with conservation organizations, using his newfound platform to educate the public about sharks' crucial role in marine ecosystems and the threats they face from human activities. The ordeal had transformed Alex in ways he could never have anticipated. What began as a pursuit of adventure evolved into an advocacy and education journey. He realized that true adventure lay not in conquering nature, but understanding and preserving it. The sharks, once symbols of terror, had become his guardians of the ocean's delicate balance, and he dedicated himself to ensuring their survival for future generations. Alex's last dive in the cage had marked the end of one chapter in his life and the beginning of another. From the depths of the ocean and the jaws of peril, he had emerged a survivor and a champion for the creatures that had once threatened him, driven by a profound transformation that would define his path forward. Beneath the azure depths of the Indian Ocean, where sunlight filters through the water like shards of shattered glass, renowned underwater photographer Alex Turner embarked on a quest that would push him to the very limits of his skill and courage. With a small crew and a boat prepared for the journey, Alex set out to capture the elusive beauty of a rare shark species that had fascinated him for years. Armed with nothing but his camera and an insatiable thirst for adventure, Alex braced himself for the challenges that lay ahead. He knew photographing these elusive creatures would require patience, perseverance, and a deep understanding of their natural habitat. But for Alex, pursuing the perfect photograph was more than just a profession. It was a calling, a way of life that had consumed his body and soul since he first dipped beneath the surface and beheld the breathtaking beauty of the ocean's depths. As the boat cut through the waves, Alex's excitement grew with each passing moment. He could feel the thrill of the hunt coursing through his veins, driving him closer to his elusive quarry. With each click of his camera shutter, he sought to capture the raw power and majestic grace of the creatures that roamed the underwater world, their secrets hidden beneath the waves. As he descended into the inky darkness of the ocean's depths, Alex knew he was entering dangerous territory, where the line between life and death was as razor-thin as the edge of a shark's fin. Despite the warnings of his colleagues and the nagging voice of doubt that whispered in the back of his mind, he pressed on, driven by a fierce determination to capture the shot of a lifetime. The pressure of the deep sea weighed heavily on Alex as he navigated through the murky waters, his heart pounding with excitement and apprehension. Every shadow, every ripple in the water seemed to hold the promise of danger, and Alex's senses were heightened to a razor-sharp focus as he scanned his surroundings for any sign of movement. Suddenly, disaster struck in the form of a shadowy figure that materialized from the depths below, its sleek form slicing through the water with deadly precision. Alex's breath caught in his throat as he realized he had stumbled upon a shark, its cold, dead eyes fixed upon him with an intensity that sent a chill down his spine. Panic threatened to engulf him as he struggled to maintain his composure in the face of imminent danger. Every instinct screamed at him to flee, swim for the surface, and escape the predator's jaws that lurked beneath the waves. But Alex knew that he couldn't let fear dictate his actions. He had come here for a reason, and he wasn't about to let a mere shark stand in his way. Drawing upon every ounce of skill and instinct he possessed, Alex made a split-second decision. With a steady hand, he reached for his camera and switched it into recording mode, capturing the unfolding drama in stunning detail. The adrenaline coursing through his veins only heightened his senses, sharpening his focus as he prepared to face the shark head-on. But as the shark's relentless assault continued, Alex realized his camera did not match the creature's brute strength. With a sinking feeling in his stomach, he knew that he risked losing everything, his equipment, footage, and perhaps even his life, if he didn't act fast. Summoning every ounce of courage and determination he possessed, Alex made a split-second decision. He removed the memory card from his camera with trembling hands, safeguarding the precious footage he had risked so much to capture. Then, with a swift and decisive motion, he turned the camera into a makeshift weapon, aiming for the shark's vulnerable gills with all the force he could muster. To his relief, the shark recoiled in pain, giving Alex a brief moment of respite. With the adrenaline coursing through his veins, he knew he had to seize this opportunity to escape while he could. With a surge of strength born of desperation, he propelled himself upwards, breaking through the water's surface with a gasp of air as he raced towards the safety of his boat. As he clambered aboard, relief washed over him like a tidal wave. His body trembled with exhaustion and gratitude as he collapsed onto the deck. Alex surveyed the scene before him with a newfound sense of humility and reverence, the vast expanse of the Indian Ocean stretching out in all directions. Despite the danger and uncertainty that lurked beneath the waves, he couldn't help but feel a profound sense of awe and wonder at the beauty and power of the natural world. In a water area like California, Christmas or New Year celebrations aren't complete without youth, old, male and female, exploring the water. However, that drastically reduces when various sharks are sighted in the ocean. So warnings were sounded to every citizen, but not 17-year-old Tyler Dodge. Despite the warnings of recent shark sightings echoing in his mind, Tyler couldn't resist the allure of the ocean, the rhythmic pulse of the waves calling out to him like an old friend. He had previously told his mom about visiting the ocean after they returned from church service on Christmas Eve. Still, his mom decided against it because she knew Tyler wouldn't obey her once they reached the water, and he would surf as he always did. When he discovered his mom wouldn't allow that, he told her he was going to his friend's place. Tyler and his friend Gary were in the same class and were close enough, so Tyler's mom didn't object to that. But Tyler went there to convince Gary about going to the ocean. Gary insists he won't swim in the ocean, but Tyler can follow him in case. It's as if Gary knew what would transpire when he said that. So the two of them set out for the beach. Tyler stood with Gary at the water's edge, his surfboard tucked under his arm, a sense of exhilaration coursing through his veins as he prepared to defy the beach closure and catch a few waves before dusk. Tyler waded into the surf while Gary sat on one of the long chairs at the beach. The cool water enveloped Tyler like a comforting embrace as he paddled towards the break. As Tyler caught the first wave, the thrill of the ocean washed away any lingering doubts. He felt alive, invigorated by adrenaline coursing through his veins. With each cresting wave, he pushed himself further, riding the swell with practiced skill and abandon. Tyler felt a sense of invincibility, a reckless disregard for the dangers lurking beneath the surface. But as dusk descended upon the beach, casting a shadowy veil over the ocean, Gary called on him to exit the water so they could return home. However, at that moment Tyler felt most alive, the rush of the waves intoxicating him, so he disregarded Gary's call. Not long after that, Tyler's sense of euphoria was shattered by the sudden realization that he was not alone in the water. A dark shape materialized beneath him, its massive form looming ominously in the depths below. With a sinking feeling in the pit of his stomach, Tyler knew that he had become the target of a great white shark. Drawn to the surface by the irresistible scent of blood and the thrashing movements of its unsuspecting prey. Panic gripped him like a vice as Tyler's mind raced with thoughts and emotions. He frantically paddled with his surfboard, trying to distance himself from the predator as much as possible. However, the shark closed in with terrifying speed, its sleek silhouette cutting through the water with deadly intent. With adrenaline coursing through his veins, Tyler's instincts kicked in, propelling him to take desperate measures to evade the jaws of the oncoming predator. He dodged through the water, hoping to confuse the shark with his erratic movements, but his efforts were in vain. In a flash of movement, the shark lunged toward him, its razor-sharp teeth inches away from tearing into his flesh. In a last-ditch attempt to escape, Tyler pushed himself to his limits, pushing his body to move faster than he ever thought possible. But Tyler plummeted into the churning depths below as the shark's jaws closed around his surfboard, wrenching it from his grasp. The shock of the cold water enveloped him as he tumbled through the ocean, disoriented and vulnerable. Tyler's senses were heightened in the murky darkness, every heartbeat echoing in his ears as he struggled to find his bearings. Summoning every ounce of courage and determination, Tyler fought to stay afloat, his heart pounding as he searched for a means of escape. But the shark was relentless, its cold, dead eyes fixed upon him with an intensity that sent a chill down his spine. As the seconds ticked by with agonizing slowness, Tyler knew that his only hope of survival lay in outsmarting the fearsome predator that now threatened to claim his life. And it was at that moment that he remembered Gary had come with him. He screamed his friend's name several times, but Gary was lost in his world, busy with his phone and headset. Miraculously, Gary lifted his gaze to see what Tyler was up to and called out to him. That's when he saw his friend struggling against the formidable predator. While Gary shouted at his friend, the shark clenched its jaws around one of Tyler's thighs, and his screams for help turned into agonizing cries. With no one around to assist, Tyler was pulled underneath the water. It could have turned into a gory incident if the shark had dragged him away, but instead it released him after a few terrifying moments. Tyler floated back to the surface, but he fainted from the encounter's shock. Meanwhile, on the shore, Gary realized that Tyler was far away, and he couldn't swim very well, especially not in these deadly waters. He sprinted to the nearby beach community without hesitation to call for help. Gasping for breath, Gary explained the situation to the locals, his words tumbling out in a rush of panic and urgency. Within minutes, a team of experienced lifeguards and paramedics sprang into action, racing towards the attack scene with all the speed and efficiency they could muster. As they reached the water's edge, Gary led them to where he had last seen Tyler, his heart pounding with dread at the thought of what they might find. But he couldn't be found easily. Search parties scoured the coastline, their shouts echoing across the deserted beach as they combed the shoreline for any sign of the missing surfer. Gary had called Tyler's mom, and soon, loved ones began to arrive at the beach, their faces etched with worry as they joined hands in prayer. The issue had become so widespread that the authorities dispatched helicopters to aid the search. Helicopters buzzed overhead, their searchlights cutting through the darkness as they scanned the turbulent waters below for any sign of life. As the minutes stretched into an agonizing eternity, hope began to wane among Tyler's loved ones. Their hearts weighed heavy with fear and uncertainty as they waited anxiously for news of his fate. But when all seemed lost, a faint figure was spotted on the waves, a beacon of hope in the darkness that spurred the search into overdrive. With renewed determination, the search parties redoubled their efforts, their eyes fixed on the distant figure. The helicopters moved closer to illuminate the figure, revealing that it was indeed Tyler, battered and bruised but alive. As Tyler was pulled from the water, His loved ones heaved a sigh of relief. However, their relief was short-lived as they realized that Tyler remained almost lifeless. He was quickly hauled into a waiting ambulance, which raced him to one of the best hospitals in the city. Despite the efforts of the medical team, Tyler's condition remained critical. The doctors informed his family that he had slipped into a coma due to the severe impact of the shark attack. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months as Tyler lay unconscious, his loved ones by his side, praying for his recovery. After what felt like an eternity, Tyler finally began to show signs of improvement. Slowly but surely, he emerged from his coma, blinking in confusion as he struggled to make sense of his surroundings. His family rejoiced at the sight of him waking up. Their prayers were finally answered after months of uncertainty and fear. Tyler underwent intensive rehabilitation in the following weeks to regain his strength and mobility. His recovery was slow and arduous, but with the unwavering support of his loved ones and the dedication of his medical team, he made remarkable progress. After nearly 20 months in the hospital, Tyler was finally deemed well enough to be discharged. Though he still bore the physical scars of his ordeal, his spirit remained unbroken. He had learned his lesson hard and vowed never again to take unnecessary risks. In the serene waters of the Great Barrier Reef, Emily Harris and her brother, Michael Harris, embarked on a peaceful fishing trip under the golden Australian sun. The year was 2021, and the siblings had rented a modest boat for a day of tranquility and bonding. They had chosen a secluded spot known among locals for its rich marine life, but untold by any map, far from the bustling tourist trails and closer to nature's untouched beauty. Emily, a schoolteacher from Sydney with a passion for marine biology, was thrilled at the chance to combine her love for teaching and the sea. An amateur photographer, Michael, was equally excited to capture the stunning landscape and vibrant underwater world. The reef, with its myriad colors and bustling aquatic life, was the perfect backdrop for their adventure. As they settled into their spots, the gentle lap of waves against the hull and the distant calls of seabirds set a calm rhythm. Emily baited her line with practiced ease, casting it into the clear azure waters, while Michael adjusted his camera settings, eager to document their expedition. The morning passed with the siblings sharing stories and laughs, occasionally reeling in small catches, which they released after admiring the beauty of each fish. The sun climbed higher, painting the sky in brilliant hues of blue, and the water around them sparkled like a sea of diamonds. But as the day wore on, the tranquility of their outing was shattered by an unexpected visitor. A shadow loomed beneath the surface, growing more ominous as it approached their boat. Emily's line tensed suddenly, and she braced herself, thinking she had snagged a significant catch. However, the reality was far more startling. Without warning, a massive shark, its mottled gray skin and scars witnessing its battles, breached the water's surface. Its powerful body slammed onto the deck with a thunderous crash, its jaws snapping ferociously. The siblings froze in terror, the shark's dark eyes locking onto theirs, a primal fear gripping their hearts. Emily's mind raced. She knew they were in a precarious position. The boat, barely sturdy enough for their leisurely fishing, now rocked violently under the shark's weight. She glanced at Michael, his face pale, his camera forgotten at his side. Emily formulated a plan based on her knowledge of marine life and a sudden surge of adrenaline. She remembered reading about sharks' sensitivity to touch in certain areas and their reliance on the element of surprise. She shouted to Michael, instructing him to distract the shark with his camera flash while she searched for something to defend themselves with. The confined space of the boat became a battleground. Michael, recovering from his initial shock, began flashing his camera at the shark, its eyes recoiling with each burst of light. Armed with a sturdy fishing rod, Emily aimed for the shark's gills, knowing it was a vulnerable spot. Their struggle was intense, a dance of survival where every move could be their last. The shark thrashed violently, its tail smashing against the boat's sides, threatening to capsize them. Emily and Michael worked in tandem, their fear mixed with a fierce determination to protect each other. As the sun descended toward the horizon, casting long shadows over the water, the siblings found themselves in a precarious stalemate with the beast. With each passing moment, their situation grew more desperate. The shark's relentless energy contrasted with their waning strength. The struggle between Emily, Michael, and the shark intensified as the sun lowered, casting an orange glow over the water. The small boat's once peaceful deck was now chaotic, with fishing gear strewn about and the shark's powerful movements threatening to send them all into the water. Her resolve hardening, Emily knew they couldn't maintain this standoff much longer. Her mind raced for a solution, recalling every knowledge she had about sharks. She remembered a documentary she'd watched, detailing how some sharks, when flipped onto their backs, enter a state of tonic immobility, a temporary paralysis. It was a long shot, but it was their only chance. She shared her plan with Michael in hushed, urgent tones, aware that their window of opportunity was shrinking with the fading light. Michael nodded, understanding the risks but trusting his sister's judgment. They decided that Emily would continue to fend off the shark with the fishing rod, aiming to disorient it, while Michael would use a spare oar to leverage the shark, attempting to flip it over. Sensing their movements, the shark became more aggressive, its tail slamming against the boat with enough force to crack the wooden planks. Water began to seep in, adding another layer of danger to their dire situation. Emily and Michael exchanged a look, understanding the stakes had just risen. Their survival now depended not only on subduing the shark, but also on keeping the boat afloat. In desperation and courage, Emily jabbed the fishing rod towards the shark's gills again, causing it to reel back. Seizing the moment, Michael positioned the oar under the shark's massive body, pushing with all his might. The shark, caught off guard by the unexpected maneuver, flipped onto its back. For a brief moment it lay still, its underbelly exposed to the fading light, its eyes glazed over in tonic immobility. The siblings didn't waste a second. Michael quickly secured the oar to ensure the shark remained in place, while Emily grabbed a bucket to start bailing out the water flooding their boat. Their actions were swift and synchronized, born of a lifetime of camaraderie and mutual understanding. As the last rays of the sun vanished below the horizon, the shark began to stir, its immobility wearing off. But by then, Emily and Michael had managed to stabilize the boat and were ready to escape. They carefully navigated around the still disoriented shark, using their remaining oars to propel the boat towards safety. The journey back to shore was tense, with both siblings keeping a vigilant watch over the water. The experience had changed them, the close encounter with the shark leaving a mark on their psyche. They spoke little, each lost in their thoughts, the gravity of their situation sinking in. As they finally reached the safety of the shore under the cover of night, they looked back at the water, the moon reflecting off its surface. The shark was nowhere to be seen, having disappeared into the depths of the Great Barrier Reef. The siblings shared a relieved embrace, thankful for their escape but forever altered by the ordeal. While terrifying, their harrowing experience brought them closer together, forging a stronger bond than ever. They returned to their lives, Emily to her teaching and Michael to his photography. But the memories of that day remained, a reminder of their survival and the incredible story they had lived to tell. Dr. Thomas Reed, an experienced marine biologist, stood on the rugged shores of Sable Island, with his gaze fixed toward the North Atlantic. The island, known for its wild horses and harsh terrains, was also the focal point of shark research because it was close to deep ocean currents, where many shark species were found. Thomas spent the last 10 years of his professional career studying these magnificent predators and advocating for their conservation. Thomas and his team set out on a bright morning in early summer, full of excitement and tagging equipment. The goal was to tag and track great white sharks to gather data on their migration patterns. Thomas and his team reviewed the tagging protocol as the boat cut through cold waters. The ocean was alive as they approached the designated area for tagging. Seabirds flew overhead, and shadowy sharks moved under the waves. Thomas felt the familiar thrill of what he did every day. The tagging spear was ready, and his hands were steady despite the waves. They encountered a giant female shark who glided through the water in a manner that belied its size. Thomas leaned over the side and aimed his tagging spear. It was a tense moment, a dance of man and beast who were both aware of each other. Thomas used a well-practiced motion to deploy the tag. It was a perfect fit and attached itself to the shark's fin. The shark, however, reacted violently. Its mighty tail whipped as it accelerated towards Thomas. The situation escalated in a flash. Thomas was thrown into the freezing water when the shark crashed into the side. The team was thrown into an activity frenzy to rescue Thomas. Thrusting and disoriented, Thomas felt his heart clench with fear when he saw the massive silhouette of the shark circle towards him. He had been trained as a scientist to follow protocols in such situations, but nothing prepared him for the fear he felt when he saw a great white shark in its natural habitat. The shark didn't attack again. Thomas's team managed to get him back on board despite his shaking body from shock and cold. Thomas's thoughts raced as they returned to the shore. The shark did not bite Thomas, but his encounter with it had left an indelible mark on him. Thomas struggled with his emotions on Sable Island. The incident shattered Thomas's confidence, which planted doubts about his chosen career. Sharks were always misunderstood. He believed they should be studied and protected. Now, facing the real dangers that these powerful creatures pose, he began to question his resolve. Thomas sat on the beach under the moonlight and watched the waves crash. Once a place of fascination and endless wonder, the ocean now appeared as a vast, menacing unknown. He was committed to shark conservation, but the fear of returning to the sea gnawed him. Thomas pondered the dilemma and realized his journey had reached a crossroads. Could he still advocate for these animals despite his fears? Had the incident irrevocably altered his relationship with the sea and its creatures? His internal conflict became palpable as he weighed his commitment against his fears. It was not only about whether he would return to the water, but also about how to continue contributing to a cause that he believed in while managing his trauma. It was a question of courage and conviction in the face of deep fear. Thomas Reed spent the days that followed his incident introspecting. Thomas Reed found himself in the Sable Island Research Station, surrounded by colleagues but isolated. Thomas always found an excuse to avoid joining the day's tagging excursion. He knew that he was trying to avoid the inevitable return to water. Thomas's excitement was replaced by a fearful feeling at the mere thought of it. Thomas spent the day poring over data from already deployed tags. Thomas tried to get lost in the graphs and patterns of migration, but his mind kept drifting back to that encounter. He was haunted by the image of the shark's dark, unyielding gaze, which reminded him of his vulnerability before nature's raw force. His avoidance was not unnoticed. His longtime friend and colleague, Dr. Emily Saunders, approached him one evening. They sat on the beach together as the sun sank below the horizon. She gently urged him to open up, noticing that he hadn't been swimming since that day, and asked if the research was bothering him. Thomas's fears were unspoken. He knew what to do and thought he should return to work, recognizing that his fear was not a mere shadow. It was palpable and real. He wondered how he could protect these creatures if he were terrified of them. Emily listened with understanding and acknowledged that fear is a compelling emotion. She emphasized that his commitment was just as important, noting that it was not about conquering fear, but finding a way for him to continue working despite the fear. Emily reassured him that there were many ways to contribute to conservation. Her words touched a nerve with him. Thomas stayed awake that night, thinking about how to change his perspective. He started thinking about other ways to impact shark conservation without going into the field. He found that education, policy advocacy, and remote data analyses were viable options to keep him involved in his mission. Thomas was motivated by his new perspective to develop educational programs that inform the public about shark behavior and conservation. He also developed policy proposals to promote safer research, and participated in remote monitoring projects that used satellite and drone technology to track shark movements. After a few months, Thomas's new niche was fulfilling. He became a popular speaker at schools and conferences, where he shared his story about the importance of protecting and respecting marine life. He had learned to cope with his fear and turned it into an inspiration for education and advocacy. Thomas eventually returned to the boat as an advisor rather than a dive master. He felt pride and accomplishment as he watched the new team continue to tag. He did not let his fear stop him from being dedicated. It deepened his respect and understanding for the creatures he had always admired. Thomas Reed's encounter with the shark was a life-changing experience that strengthened his resolve in unexpected and surprising ways. His journey taught him an important lesson. True courage is not the absence or lack of fear, but the ability to move forward despite it. Thomas's story was widely shared, reminding those in the conservation field that conservation is fraught, but also offers opportunities for growth and adaptation. In the serene coastal waters of Cape Cod, Massachusetts, David Harper, a dedicated marine conservationist, found himself in the throes of a personal and professional crisis. For years, David had devoted his life to preserving marine ecosystems, focusing mainly on protecting endangered shark species. His work, often celebrated in the conservation community, was driven by a deep belief in the intrinsic value of all life forms and the importance of maintaining the delicate balance of nature. During a rare break from his conservation efforts, David took his family to the beach on a bright summer day. The outing was meant to be a celebration, a way to reconnect with his daughter, Lily, and wife, Maria, amidst the busy tide of work and environmental advocacy. The beach was crowded with locals and tourists, all basking in the season's warmth. The air was filled with laughter and the gentle lapping of waves against the shore. As the afternoon unfolded, David's attention was momentarily caught by a call from a colleague, drawing him away from his family's side. In this brief lapse, a moment's distraction, that tragedy struck. Adventurous and confident in the water like her father, Lily had ventured further out from the shore. Without warning, a shark, one of the very creatures David had worked so tirelessly to protect, attacked. The beach erupted into chaos as screams pierced the air, the day's joy turning to horror. David, his heart dropping to his stomach, rushed into the water, guided by the frantic shouts of those pointing towards his daughter. The sight that met him was one no parent should ever witness. Lily struggling in the water, her arm caught in the shark's jaws. With a desperation born of fear and love, David managed to pull Lily away from the shark, carrying her back to the safety of the shore. Emergency services were quick to respond, and Lily was rushed to the hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. The shark had disappeared back into the depths as suddenly as it had appeared. Sitting in the sterile white of the hospital room, watching Lily as she lay recovering, David was consumed by a turmoil of emotion. Anger, guilt, and a profound sense of helplessness swirled within him. The attack challenged the very foundation of his beliefs. How could he continue to advocate for the protection of creatures that had brought such harm to his child? Could he find it within himself to forgive, to look beyond the personal vendetta that surged within him, threatening to overshadow his years of conservation work? David's dilemma mirrors the broader conflict between human interests and the preservation of nature, a conflict now made deeply personal. The path forward was unclear, his convictions shaken. This was not just a question of professional commitment, but a profound moral crisis that touched the core of his identity as a conservationist, a father, and a human being. The journey ahead promised to be one of reflection, reconciliation, and perhaps a reevaluation of the complex relationship between humans and the natural world. In the weeks following the attack, David took a leave of absence from his work. His days were consumed by hospital visits, therapy sessions, and long reflective walks along the coastline he had once roamed with unwavering purpose. The ocean, which had always been a source of inspiration and solace, now echoed with the remainder of the day that had changed his family's life. The turning point came one evening while David was reading a story about the ocean's wonders with Lily. Despite her ongoing recovery, Lily's resilience shone brightly. Her innocent yet profound perspective on forgiveness and love for the sea, despite its dangers, deeply moved David. It was a moment of clarity that pierced through his turmoil. David realized his fight for marine conservation was about protecting sharks or preserving ecosystems, and fostering a world where his daughter could marvel at the ocean's mysteries without fear. His advocacy for sharks did not oppose his love for his family. Instead, it was a testament to his hope for a future where coexistence was possible. In the following months, David embarked on a new advocacy chapter. He began to focus more on education, working with local communities to promote shark awareness and safety in coastal areas. He partnered with researchers and safety experts to develop initiatives that could prevent shark encounters without harming the sharks or their habitat. His message was respectful and understanding, advocating for measures protecting human and marine life. David's journey from the depths of personal vendetta to a renewed commitment to conservation became a powerful narrative. He shared his story at conferences, in schools, and through media, highlighting the complex relationship between humans and nature. He spoke of the need for balance, policies, and actions grounded in science and empathy, rather than fear or retaliation. Lily's recovery and simple yet profound question reminded David that love for the natural world drives meaningful change even when it challenges us. His family's ordeal had transformed his approach to conservation, making it more holistic and inclusive of human concerns. David Harper had found his answer to the conservationist dilemma, not in choosing between his professional commitments and personal vendetta, but in embracing the delicate balance of coexistence, forgiveness, and the enduring wonder of the natural world. In Cresthaven, the sleepy coastal town nestled between rugged cliffs and the endless expanse of the ocean, a sense of unease hung heavy in the air as reports of shark attacks began to spread like wildfire through the community. With each passing day, the townsfolk grew more fearful, and their once idyllic seaside paradise transformed into a battleground of fear and uncertainty. But amidst the chaos and panic, a beacon of hope emerged in the form of a young woman named Maya, whose unique ability to communicate with sharks would soon prove to be the key to unraveling the mystery behind the attacks and restoring peace to the troubled waters of Cresthaven. As news of the attacks reached her ears, Maya knew she could no longer stand idly by while the creatures she had come to love and understand were demonized and hunted without cause. With a steely determination burning in her heart, she resolved to uncover the truth behind the sudden surge in shark activity and end the cycle of fear and violence that threatened to tear the town apart. Armed with nothing but her wits and her uncanny ability to commune with the denizens of the deep, Maya set out to investigate the root cause of the attacks. Her mind buzzed with questions and possibilities as she delved into the murky depths of the ocean's secrets. Her first stop was the local Marine Research Center, where she hoped to find clues that would shed light on the shark's behavior and point her toward a solution. As she pored over charts and data, Maya's keen eyes caught sight of a disturbing pattern emerging from the depths: a sudden increase in pollution and overfishing along the coastline, driving the sharks closer to shore in search of food and shelter. Determined to confirm her suspicions, Maya donned her diving gear and plunged into the cool embrace of the ocean, her heart pounding with anticipation as she swam towards the reef where the attacks had been most frequent. With each stroke of her fins, she felt a sense of kinship with the creatures that glided effortlessly through the water around her, their sleek forms cutting through the waves with a grace and beauty that took her breath away. As she neared the reef, Maya's heart sank at the sight that greeted her eyes: a tangled mess of discarded fishing nets and plastic debris, choking the coral and ensnaring the marine life that called it home. With a sinking feeling in her stomach, she knew that she had stumbled upon the actual cause of the shark's aggression: the insidious impact of human activity on the delicate balance of the ocean ecosystem. With a heavy heart, Maya knew she had no choice but to confront the townsfolk with the harsh truth of their actions and convince them to change their ways before it was too late. Armed with the knowledge she had gleaned from her underwater investigations and the unwavering conviction of her beliefs, she set out to rally support for her cause and unite the community in a shared mission to protect the ocean and its inhabitants. But convincing the townsfolk to see reason would be no easy task, as fear and mistrust ran deep after the recent attacks. Despite her best efforts to appeal to their sense of compassion and responsibility, Maya met with skepticism and resistance at every turn, her pleas being brushed aside as the townsfolk clung stubbornly to their misguided beliefs. Undeterred by the overwhelming odds stacked against her, Maya refused to give up hope, drawing upon her connection with the sharks and the wisdom they had imparted to her in her darkest hours. With a newfound sense of purpose burning within her, she redoubled her efforts to bridge the divide between humans and sharks and forge a path toward reconciliation and coexistence. Through tireless outreach and education efforts, Maya slowly began chipping away at the walls of ignorance and fear that had divided the community for so long. Her words resonated with authenticity and passion, touching the hearts of even the most hardened skeptics. With each passing day, more and more townsfolk joined her cause, their eyes opened to the interconnectedness of all life and the urgent need to protect the fragile balance of the ocean ecosystem. But as Maya worked tirelessly to unite the community, a new threat emerged from the depths, threatening to derail her efforts and plunge Cresthaven into chaos again. A group of ruthless poachers driven by greed and desperation descended upon the waters of the coast, intent on plundering its riches and leaving destruction in their wake. With the shark's natural habitat under siege and the delicate balance of the ocean ecosystem hanging in the balance, Maya knew that she could no longer afford to remain passive in the face of such brazen disregard for the sanctity of life. She devised a daring plan to thwart the poachers and protect the ocean's inhabitants from harm. Under the cover of darkness, Maya and her allies set out to intercept the poachers before they could unleash their destructive fury upon the waters of Cresthaven. With stealth and precision born of years spent navigating the treacherous currents of the ocean, they closed in on their quarry, their hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and determination as they prepared to confront the enemy head-on. In a dramatic showdown beneath the starlit sky, Maya and her allies clashed with the poachers in a battle for the soul of Cresthaven and the future of its waters. With each passing moment, the stakes grew higher, the fate of the ocean hanging in the balance as the two sides clashed in a struggle that would determine the course of history. But despite the odds stacked against them, Maya and her allies emerged victorious, their bravery and resilience shining like beacons of hope in the darkness. With the poachers defeated and the shark's natural habitat safeguarded from harm, Cresthaven could finally begin to heal from the wounds of its past and embrace a future of harmony and coexistence with the creatures that called the ocean home. Haruto has been fishing the Hokkaido coast for over 50 years. He has observed the changing sea, shifting currents, and dwindling fish from the worn-out docks in his small fishing community. Every morning he pushes his wooden boat out into the waves, determined to hold on to the life he knows and his forefathers' life. Haruto's boat was loaded with nets and lines on a cold morning in early spring. As the sun slowly rose above the horizon, the eastern sky was painted in streaks of purple and orange. Haruto, whose hands were atrophied and calloused after years of hard labor, could handle the gear quickly. His fishing was more than just a livelihood. It was also his connection to history, and a way to resist the relentless march of technology and time that threatened to change his world. Haruto's sea became choppy as he sailed further away from the shore. This was a sign that the marine habitats had changed due to shifting undercurrents. He dropped his fishing nets at a spot that was a favorite in the past. Today, as on many other days in recent months, the nets were almost empty. Haruto sighed and decided to go deeper despite the increased number of sharks drawn to the shore by stronger currents. He moved his boat further out and scanned the deep blue below him. Haruto was not warned when a colossal shape emerged from the depths. Its dark silhouette was unmistakable, a great white shark. This shark was much more giant than anything Haruto had ever seen before. The shark struck his boat before he had time to react. The impact was violent, shaking the ship violently and sending wood splinters into the air. Haruto fell and caught himself on the side as water started to seep into the damaged hull. The shark circled back, its dorsal blade slicing the water like a knife. Haruto was in danger. The boat was rapidly taking on water, and Haruto was far away from help. Haruto had to choose as the waves raged around him, and his boat began to listen. He could call for help, but it might be too late. He could either try to repair enough damage to make it to shore. He gathered his courage and grabbed the patching kit he always kept on board in case of emergency. The shark continued to brush against the boat as he worked. Haruto prayed that the patch would last long enough to return him to his village. The boat filled with water as each minute passed, testing his repair and spirit. This was more than a fight for survival. It was also a testimony to the resolve of an elderly fisherman to maintain his lifestyle in a changing world. Haruto wasn't ready to abandon the tradition that had defined his family over generations. He knew this moment was critical for him and the entire community that relied on the sea to survive and represent themselves. Haruto's fingers moved quickly, and the sea spray stung him as he struggled to keep his boat on its feet. Each patch was a desperate attempt to beat time and nature. The shark circled, possibly curious or confused at the boat's persistent approach. Its dark fin was a constant reminder that danger lay below. Haruto was occupied with his work when he began to think about his village. For centuries, the community relied on oceans for food, a sense of identity and purpose. He thought about the young people who had fled to the cities in search of a life less dependent on nature. Haruto was not just patching up his boat, but also trying to repair a way of life drifting with the tides. Haruto took advantage of the calm created by the temporary securing of the hull. The old gears groaned in protest as he started the engine and guided his vessel home. Each wave threatened his makeshift repairs. He watched the water closely, aware that the shark might reappear any minute. Relief washed over him as the coast finally came into view. Despite the boat's saturated condition, which barely responded to his commands, it was still progressing. Familiar landmarks like the rocky outcrops and the old lighthouse appeared on the horizon, guiding him back just as they had guided his father and grandfather before him. Haruto's return to the harbor was not unnoticed. They gathered on the dock after a distress signal that he had sent out alerted them to his plight. The villagers rushed to his aid, helping him fix the boat and treating his minor injuries. In the chaos, Haruto told his story: the shark attack, the damaged boat, and the terrifying return. The story spread fast, reminding everyone of the dangers they faced in a changing world. The village was moved by Haruto's story and called a meeting. The shark incident and the increasing frequency of predator encounters led to a discussion on the future. The changing ocean conditions are a threat and a call for adaptation. The community decided to invest in more durable boats with safety features that can withstand unexpected encounters. It also decided to diversify its fishing practices by incorporating aquaculture, which could sustain them and not rely on the unpredictable open sea. The village also contacted marine scientists to understand better sharks' behavior and that of other aquatic life. They hoped this knowledge would help them coexist peacefully with creatures of the sea. Haruto was once the symbol of old ways. He became a proponent of a new approach. He told his story to many people, highlighting the importance of adapting and respecting the ocean's strength. His experience catalyzed change, inspiring others to reconsider their relationship with the sea. Years later, the village was transformed. The town was now safer, more resilient, and more sustainable. Haruto is now older and still fishes, but with more caution. He would often sit by the shore and watch the newer, more robust boats navigate the same waters he used to roam freely in. He left a legacy that was more than just survival. It was a movement to ensure the community's survival in harmony with nature. On a serene night in 2008, Hahe Beach in New Zealand became the backdrop for an unforgettable story of resilience and transformation. Emily Turner, a woman with a gentle spirit and a love for the ocean, stood on the edge of this secluded beach, seeking a moment of peace away from the complexities of her life. The moon hung low in the sky, casting a silvery glow over the water, inviting her in. Emily had always found solace in the sea. It was her sanctuary, where she could shed her worries as quickly as her clothes by the shore. Tonight, she needed that escape more than ever. With a deep breath, she stepped into the water, leaving behind the world and diving into the calm, welcoming embrace of the ocean. As she swam further from the shore, the water around her seemed to sparkle under the moonlight, each stroke creating ripples of light. The tranquility of the moment was profound, a rare instance of complete harmony with nature. But this peace was not to last. Without warning, a sharp, searing pain erupted in Emily's leg, shattering the serene night. Panic surged through her as she realized what had happened. She had been bitten by a shark. An intense struggle for survival quickly followed the initial shock. Emily fought desperately, her screams blending with the crashing of the waves. In the chaos of the moment, Emily's mind raced. She recalled snippets of survival stories and advice on how to deal with a shark attack. She knew she needed to keep calm to avoid thrashing about and provoking the shark further. But the pain was overwhelming, clouding her thoughts and instincts. Somehow, amidst the terror and confusion, Emily focused on her breathing, attempting to calm her racing heart. She remembered reading that sharks often bite out of curiosity and rarely return for a second attack. Clinging to this sliver of hope, she began to swim back to shore, each stroke fueled by a desperate will to survive. The journey back to the beach was excruciating. Every movement sent waves of pain through her leg, but fear of another attack kept her moving. Emily's strength waned as the shore neared, but her determination did not. Finally, with relief and exhaustion, she reached the sand, dragging herself out of the water and collapsing under the moonlight. Lying there, panting and in shock, Emily's mind raced with the immediacy of her situation. She needed help and fast. But as she lay waiting for rescue, her thoughts drifted not to anger or vengeance against the creature that had attacked her, but to a deep ingrained curiosity about why the attack had happened. This moment, as painful and terrifying as it was, sparked a flicker of interest in marine life that she had never felt so intensely. Emily's ordeal that night on Hahe Beach marked the beginning of a journey she could never have anticipated. The physical scars from the shark bite would heal, but the psychological impact of the attack and the transformative path it set her on would change her life forever. Unbeknownst to her then, this harrowing experience would eventually lead her to become an advocate for the very creatures that had once brought her to the brink of death. As she awaited rescue, shivering and wounded under the moonlit sky, Emily Turner was on the cusp of a new chapter. A chapter not defined by fear and trauma, but by understanding, recovery, and advocacy. Her story was just beginning, and it would be one of courage, resilience, and an unexpected journey toward coexistence with the mysterious inhabitants of the deep. As Emily Turner lay on the cool sand of Hahe Beach, her body trembling from shock and cold, rescue came swiftly. Local fishermen, drawn by her cries, found her in the moonlight. The community rallied around her, providing first aid until the paramedics arrived. This act of kindness from strangers in her moment of vulnerability was a beacon of hope amidst the pain. The physical recovery was long and grueling. Hours in surgery to repair the damage to her leg were followed by weeks in the hospital and months of physical therapy. Yet it was during this healing time that Emily's true journey began. The attack that could have turned her away from the ocean forever, instead, sparked a deep-seated need to understand these creatures that share the earth with us. Driven by this newfound purpose, Emily immersed herself in the study of marine biology, with a focus on shark behavior. She learned that sharks are often misunderstood and that attacks on humans are rare and usually a case of mistaken identity. This knowledge transformed her fear into fascination and respect. As she regained her strength, Emily began to share her story. She spoke at schools, community centers, and marine conservation events. Her message was not one of fear, but of coexistence and respect for aquatic life. She advocated for protecting shark habitats and against practices like shark finning, which significantly threatened shark populations. Emily's efforts did not go unnoticed. She became a voice in the marine conservation community, and her story is a powerful testament to the possibility of turning trauma into positive action. She worked with local and international organizations, helping develop educational programs promoting ocean safety and shark awareness. But Emily's journey came full circle when she returned to Hahe Beach, not as a victim, but as a champion for the creatures that once filled her with terror. Standing on the same sands where her life had taken such an unexpected turn, she organized a beach cleanup and educational day, bringing together locals and tourists to learn about marine conservation. As the day ended, Emily found herself alone on the beach, looking out over the water that had once been a source of pain, but was now her life's passion. The moon glowed over the sea as it had on the night of the attack, but this time Emily felt a profound connection to the water, a sense of peace and purpose. Her story of survival had become one of transformation. Emily Turner, once a victim of a shark attack, was now a leading advocate for the very beings that had changed her life. She showed that it is possible to move beyond fear and trauma and find understanding and purpose in the most unexpected places. As the waves whispered against the shore, Emily knew her work was just beginning. There was much to be done to protect these magnificent creatures and the oceans they inhabit. But she also knew she was not alone in this fight. The community that had rallied around her, the scientists and conservationists she worked with, and the countless individuals she had inspired were all part of this journey. With the Australian fishing sector facing a critical shortage of skilled workers due to an aging workforce, an innovative apprenticeship program emerges as a beacon of hope. As fishing stocks strengthen and the industry adapts to new regulations and competition, there's an urgent need for fresh talent to sustain its vitality. Traditionally, Entering the fishing industry required practical skills and often a familial background in the trade. However, breaking into the industry proved a formidable challenge for individuals like 24-year-old Mia Cameron from New South Wales. Despite possessing some practical skills, Mia encountered skepticism and rejection when she approached Australian docks for employment, primarily due to her lack of prior water experience and gender. Undeterred by the initial setbacks, Mia remained determined to pursue her passion for fishing. Mia's fortunes turned positive when she discovered the Fisherman Apprenticeship Program offered by the Commercial Fisheries Centre of Australia in partnership with the Department of Fishery at the University of Australia. This comprehensive program, spanning 30 days, pairs each trainee with an expert fisherman who provides personalized instruction in every aspect of the fishing industry. The intensive 30-day curriculum includes a blend of classroom instruction and hands-on training, meticulously crafted to equip apprentices like Mia with the practical skills and experience fishing captains demand. For Mia and her cohort of fellow apprentices, this training program represents a crucial pathway into an industry where experience often serves as the golden ticket for entry. During this transformative training program, Mia was paired with Freddie King, an experienced fisherman who was assigned to be her instructor. Under Freddie's guidance, Mia embarked on a journey of discovery, learning the intricacies of fishing techniques, navigation skills, marine safety protocols, and the sustainable management of fishing resources. Freddie's mentorship went beyond the technical aspects of fishing. He also provided invaluable insights into the rich maritime heritage of Australia and instilled in Mia a profound respect for the ocean and its inhabitants. Mia honed her abilities through countless hours aboard fishing vessels, gaining confidence and competence with each passing day. Under his guidance, Mia received invaluable training to prepare her for life on the open water. From learning the intricacies of navigation to mastering the art of netting and gutting fish, Freddie ensured his apprentice was ready to hit the ground running when she joined any fishing crew. As their bond deepened through shared experiences and countless hours spent at sea, Freddie and Mia became more than just mentors and apprentices. They became close friends and trusted companions. Together, they embarked on numerous adventures, each a testament to their skill, courage, and camaraderie. One such adventure, however, would become the talk of the town, leaving Freddie and Mia with a lasting impression. Days of meticulous preparation preceded their daring expedition, as they meticulously planned every detail of their journey to capture the elusive great southern reef sharks off the rugged coast of Australia. With the sun sinking low on the horizon, casting a golden hue over the shimmering waters, Freddie and Mia set out into the vast expanse of the open sea. Guided by Freddie's expert navigation skills and Mia's unwavering determination, they easily navigated treacherous currents and unpredictable weather conditions. The boat rocked against the waves, testing Freddie and Mia's skill and resolve as they fought to maintain their balance. But they pressed on, their eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of their elusive prey. Hours passed, and their fishing lines remained empty, the sharks proving to be as elusive as ever. But Freddie and Mia refused to give up hope, their determination unwavering in the face of adversity. They knew that patience was key when hunting great southern reef sharks, that sometimes the thrill of the chase was worth the wait. As the afternoon wore on and their anticipation mounted, Freddie and Mia decided to change tactics in their quest for the elusive sharks. With determination, they reeled in their net and set course for a new location, hopeful that a change of scenery would increase their chances of a successful encounter. Suddenly, Mia's sharp eyes caught sight of a dark shape moving gracefully through the water. With a gasp of excitement, she nudged Freddie, her heart pounding as she pointed toward the distant figure. They sprang into action without hesitation, readying their gear for the challenge ahead. As they sailed after the mysterious creature, Mia's excitement reached fever pitch at the possibility of encountering a shark up close. But their excitement quickly turned to terror as, without warning, a massive shadow emerged from the depths below, hurtling towards them with frightening speed. Before they could react, the shark slammed into the side of the boat with bone-jarring force, sending Freddie and Mia tumbling into the water below. The impact reverberated through the vessel, leaving it listing dangerously to one side, as seawater flooded the lower compartments. For Mia, who had never experienced such a terrifying ordeal before, fear threatened to overwhelm her as she struggled to keep her head above water. But Freddie's calm demeanor and quick thinking helped steady her nerves as they fought against the icy cold of the ocean. Drawing on his years of experience as a seasoned fisherman, Freddie knew that their best chance of survival lay in finding solid ground to stand on. With adrenaline coursing through their veins, they swam frantically through the frigid waters, their muscles burning with exertion as they searched for a haven. Despite the biting cold taking its toll on Mia, they pressed on, their determination unwavering in the face of adversity. And finally, after an eternity, they spotted a rocky outcrop jutting out from the water's surface. With renewed hope, Freddie and Mia made a desperate dash for the safety of the rock, their hearts pounding with relief as they clambered onto its rough surface. But their ordeal was far from over, as they watched in horror as the shark continued to circle hungrily in the water below, its dorsal fin slicing through the waves with deadly precision. With no means of communication, because the water had destroyed their cell phone and the sinking realization that they were stranded at sea, Freddie and Mia knew they had to act fast to have any hope of survival. It was then that Freddie remembered the red cloth he had been wearing, and with a sense of urgency, he tore it off and began waving it frantically in the air, hoping to attract the attention of passing vessels. Hours passed, and their hopes faded as darkness fell over the ocean, shrouding them in a veil of uncertainty. But just when it seemed like all hope was lost, a faint glimmer of light appeared on the horizon, growing steadily brighter as it drew closer. It was a passing vessel that had spotted their distress signal and come to their rescue. As they were pulled aboard the safety of the ship, Freddie and Mia breathed a collective sigh of relief, their bodies trembling with exhaustion and relief. Back on dry land, Mia was taken to the hospital to receive treatment for the shock she had suffered. Despite the harrowing ordeal they had endured, her passion for fishing remained undimmed. If anything, the experience had only strengthened the bond between her and Freddie, forging a friendship that would endure long after the memory of their brush with danger had faded. Jessica Harper dressed with the calm focus that was her trademark at the Coast Guard station near the Farallon Islands. This part of California, known for its swirling water and great white sharks patrolling the depths, was not a stranger to danger. The 32-year-old rescue diver had a strong connection with the ocean. She respected its power and the creatures that lived within. The radio sounded urgent on that cold April morning. It broke the quiet of dawn. A diver was reported to be stranded in shark-infested water near the islands. His equipment had failed, leaving him vulnerable. Jessica and her team jumped on the rescue boat without hesitation. The cool ocean spray washed their faces while they raced to save time. Jessica saw the diver as the boat approached the coordinates. His orange suit was a striking contrast to the deep blue. As she prepared to dive, Jessica could see the diver's relief as they arrived. She was not afraid, but the mission's adrenaline made her heart beat faster. She drew a deep breath and plunged into the icy waters. The underwater world was a dance between shadows and lights. Jessica easily navigated the ocean's murky depths with ease and reached the diver struggling to stay afloat. She smiled calmly through her mask as she approached, reassuring the diver with her presence. However, a shadowy figure loomed above as she secured a harness to him. The commotion attracted a great white shark to circle closer. Jessica's instincts as a rescue diver were strong, and she acted quickly. She placed herself between the diver and the shark as a human shield, prepared for the worst. She met the shark's eyes, ancient and unyielding. Her resolve was hardened at that moment. The shark charged with its massive body, cutting through the water at a terrifying speed. Jessica used her fins, accelerating herself and the diver, but the shark's tooth still found Jessica's leg. She felt a burning pain and a flash of white heat that threatened to plunge her into panic. She never let go of the diver. She pushed them to the surface with a powerful kick and signaled the team above. In a matter of seconds, the boat crew was there to pull Jessica and the diver from the shark's territory. Jessica's leg was bleeding profusely as the rescue boat raced back to shore. The bite was a testament to Jessica's bravery. As medics treated her injuries, the severity of her injury became apparent. Her leg had been badly injured. Her muscles were torn and recovery would take a long time. Her first thought was for the diver who was sitting nearby. His expression was mixed with guilt and gratitude, thanking Jessica for rescuing him. Jessica nodded as her gaze turned to the window, where the ocean was vast and unyielding. She was aware of the risks she would face as a rescue diver, but had no regrets, even though those were now her reality. With her bravery, she saved a person's life. After the news spread, local media hailed her as a heroine. Her story was widely shared and interviews were requested. This sparked a discussion on the dangers rescue divers face in shark-infested waters. Jessica became the focus of a public debate on balancing wildlife protection and human activity. Jessica reflected as she lay on her hospital bed with her leg bandaged. She had been a protector of human life and the Marines, and was now living up to that calling. Her story is one of sacrifice and the delicate dance between man and the natural world, a theme that resonates deeply with those who have ventured into the ocean. Jessica Harper's hospital recovery progressed slowly as the days became weeks. Her courage continued to win the hearts of many people, and she was featured in numerous news outlets discussing the dangers and heroism involved with rescue operations under dangerous conditions. While the media attention was overwhelming, it also started a conversation about safety protocols and how important being prepared is when faced with natural predators such as sharks. During her recovery, Jessica was visited by other Coast Guards and rescue divers from different stations. She even received a visit from the diver she had saved. Each visitor shared their stories and expressed admiration for Jessica's courage. Jessica began working on a proposal to improve safety measures and train rescue divers who work in shark-infested waters. Her proposal included improved protective gear, new technologies to deter sharks, and more training scenarios that simulate shark encounters. She said her proposed measures would help protect divers and make rescue missions safer and more effective. Jessica's initiative received support from diving and safety organizations. She was invited to speak at conferences and seminars, where she told her story and advocated her proposed changes. Her personal experience gave her words a powerful authenticity, and she made a compelling argument for her recommendations. Jessica's battle with her injuries was also a tough one. Though her leg would heal, it would never be the same. She underwent countless hours of physical therapy to gain strength and learn how to walk again slowly. She was constantly reminded of the accident, but she also became more determined not to let it set her back. Jessica finally had the chance to try out the water again. She returned to the ocean accompanied by a group of supportive colleagues, equipped with the new equipment she helped develop. This dive was about her fear, not about saving others. The ocean welcomed Jessica back with open arms. Jessica was a mixture of excitement and apprehension as she submerged in the incredible depths. She felt her confidence return with each stroke. She was aware of the risks, but also her strength and resilience. Jessica was confident she could face any sharks, even though she didn't see one this time. Her return to diving was a personal triumph and a testimony to her recovery. It was also a significant step in promoting safety for rescue operations. Jessica's story continues to inspire, showing that courage and determination can be used to face fears and bring about positive change for a larger community. Jessica's life appeared to be coming full circle as she continued to promote safety when rescue diving. Her journey from a harrowing experience to a beacon for change was a powerful example of how the human spirit can adapt and influence. The sun was setting over the crystal-clear waters of the Bahamas, casting a golden glow on the yacht where Sarah Jennings celebrated with friends. It was supposed to be a weekend of luxury and relaxation, a brief escape from the hustle of city life. But what started as an idyllic getaway quickly turned into a nightmare. A sudden violent storm capsized the yacht, throwing Sarah into the tumultuous sea. When she awoke, she was on the shore of a deserted island alone and without a sign of her friends or any rescue. The first few days were a blur of survival instincts. Sarah scavenged the beach for anything that might have washed ashore from the yacht: food, water bottles, and some rudimentary tools. She fashioned a shelter out of palm leaves and branches, her hands moving purposefully, driven by the primal will to survive. Despite the lushness of the island, she knew she couldn't stay there indefinitely. She needed to find help. Recalling the yacht's navigational maps, Sarah believed another inhabited island was within swimming distance. Though the exact distance was uncertain, desperation fueled her decision to attempt the swim. She set out at dawn with a makeshift raft of driftwood and vines to hold a few essential supplies, hoping the calm morning waters would ease her passage. The swim was exhausting. The sun beat down mercilessly, dehydrating her and testing her resolve. Then, without warning, a sharp pain shot through her leg, a pain so intense it clouded her vision with stars. A shark had bitten her, attracted by the lone figure in its territory. As she fought to keep her head above water, panic surged through Sarah's veins, kicking furiously at the shadow beneath her. The shark circled back, its black eyes unfeeling, but Sarah struck it with the makeshift paddle from her raft, using the last reserves of her strength. The creature, likely more curious than hungry, finally turned away, leaving Sarah bleeding and terrified. Adrift and in agony, Sarah clung to her raft, the island she had aimed for now seemingly an impossible distance away. The salt water stung her wounds, a cruel reminder of her vulnerability in the vast ocean. But the attack, while physically debilitating, ignited a fierce determination within her. She couldn't give up now, not when she had already overcome so much. With one good leg and a spirit that refused to be extinguished, Sarah paddled slowly, focusing on the rhythm of her movement to keep the pain at bay. Hours passed, or were the days. Time blurred as Sarah drifted in and out of consciousness, each wakeful moment a testament to her will to survive. The shore of the neighboring island finally came into view, but it might as well have been a world away. Her body was at its limit, and her injuries were severe. But Sarah Jennings was not one to succumb to despair. Drawing on a reservoir of strength she never knew she possessed, she propelled herself forward, inch by agonizing, until the waves carried her to the island's sandy beach. Collapsing on the shore, she allowed herself a moment of relief before the reality of her situation sank in once again. She was still alone, injured, and far from home, but she was alive. And as long as she had breath in her lungs, she would fight to be rescued, to return to the life she had been so abruptly torn from. The island that had seemed like salvation from her previous ordeal now presented a new set of challenges. But Sarah had faced the ocean's depths and emerged not defeated, but determined. Now she would need all her ingenuity and resilience to survive the days ahead, unaware that her story of survival would soon captivate the world. Standing on the sands of the newfound island, Sarah Jennings knew that her journey was far from over. Her leg, marked by the shark's bite, was a grim reminder of her vulnerability. Yet the island offered a sliver of hope, a chance for rescue and survival. With no time to waste, Sarah began tending to her wounds using the limited resources she had salvaged. She fashioned a bandage from part of her clothing, treating the injury with salt water, knowing the risk of infection well, but understanding the necessity of cleaning the wound. The next few days tested Sarah's resolve. She explored the island, discovering fruit trees and a freshwater spring, essentials that sustained her body. But the isolation proved the most brutal battle, and the silence was a constant reminder of her solitude. She kept a fire burning each night, hoping its smoke would signal her presence to any passing ships or planes. Sarah started a journal with scraps of paper she found in her makeshift raft to keep her spirits up and her mind sharp. She detailed her ordeal, survival strategies, and her reflections on life. This simple act became her solace, a connection to the world she hoped to rejoin. Her ingenuity shone through in the traps she set for fish and the shelter she improved upon, using techniques remembered from books and survival shows. Each small success was a victory against the desolation that threatened to engulf her. Then, on what Sarah estimated to be the third week of her ordeal, salvation arrived in the form of a small search and rescue plane. The pilots, drawn by the smoke of her signal fire, circled overhead before dropping supplies and a radio. Through crackling static, Sarah's voice, strong despite everything, called out her location and situation. The promise of rescue, of seeing her family and friends again, overwhelmed her with emotion. The world Sarah returned to was not the one she had left. Her story of survival against all odds, of a solitary fight against nature, captivated the global community. Media outlets clamored for interviews, while online forums buzzed with debates about the ethics of wildlife tourism and the dangers of adventure seeking in the modern age. Sarah's ordeal became a viral sensation, a narrative of human resilience and the will to survive. However, the experience was transformative for Sarah in ways that the public's fascination could never fully grasp. She became an advocate for responsible tourism and ocean conservation, using her story to highlight the delicate balance between human activity and nature's wildness. Her survival tale, while extraordinary, underscored a message of respect for the natural world and the importance of preparation and knowledge in survival situations. In the aftermath, Sarah penned a memoir detailing her days on the island, her thoughts, fears, and the lessons she learned in solitude. It was a tale of survival that reflected life's fragility and strength in adversity. Sarah Jennings' ordeal on the remote island after the shark attack and her subsequent rescue became more than a sensational story. It was a testament to the human spirit's capacity for endurance, adaptation, and the relentless pursuit of life. Her name became synonymous with resilience, a reminder that the will to live can forge paths to unimaginable strength and recovery, even in the most profound isolation. We always try to debate the extent of a mother's love, but perhaps there's no better example than the Araizos family, who embarked on a trip to one of the secluded islands in the Bahamas. In the summer of 1992, Alejandro, Maria, and their young daughter Anna, just 13 years old, set out for this adventure. Alejandro, a technician in the manufacturing industry, had been granted his much-awaited work leave in August per the terms of his employment. Leading up to this moment, he had diligently saved every penny, knowing that his modest salary alone couldn't fund such a trip. But he was determined to fulfill one of his early dreams with his beloved family. When the long-awaited leave finally arrived, the trio eagerly prepared for their journey. Tickets in hand, they boarded a plane bound for the Bahamas, where they were whisked away to one of the island's posh hotels. Although they were accustomed to visiting beaches in Spain, the anticipation of exploring the famed Bahamas was palpable, especially on Ana and Maria's faces. Alejandro, the supportive husband and father, couldn't help but mirror their excitement. Despite Alejandro's slight apprehension about spending too much time in the water, he didn't want to dampen his family's spirits. So on the third day of their arrival, after they had explored some parts of the town as tourists often do, they all made their way to the pristine shores. Fortuitously, August happened to be a scheduled time for summer vacation in Spain, and as a result, several Spanish families were also vacationing on the island. This sense of familiarity and shared culture made the Araizos feel right at home, enhancing their overall experience. As they frolicked in the crystal-clear waters, laughter and joy filled the air, the worries and stresses of everyday life melting away in the warm embrace of the tropical paradise. Anna's infectious giggles echoed across the beach as she built sandcastles with her parents, her eyes sparkling with wonder and delight. Maria, too, reveled in the simple pleasures of the moment, relishing the opportunity to spend quality time with her loved ones in such a beautiful setting. For Alejandro, seeing the happiness radiating from his wife and daughter filled him with a profound sense of fulfillment. Despite their challenges and hardships over the years, moments like these made it all worthwhile. After a while, the family donned their snorkeling gear and waded into the crystal-clear waters that lapped gently at the shore. Laughter and excitement filled the air. Maria's heart swelled with pride as she watched Anna eagerly immerse herself in the underwater world, her eyes wide with wonder and curiosity. Meanwhile, Alejandro took a break from swimming and retreated to the shade of one of the pavilions that dotted the shoreline. As he lounged comfortably in the shade, he couldn't help but smile as he watched his wife and daughter frolic in the waves, their laughter echoing across the beach like music to his ears. Despite not being as adventurous in the water as Maria and Ana, Alejandro found immense joy in simply being in their presence. His heart overflowing with love and gratitude for his beautiful family. He marveled at their bond, which was forged through years of love, laughter, and shared experiences. As they paddled out into the surf, Maria's heart swelled with pride as she watched her daughter fearlessly tackle each wave with skill and determination. She knew that moments like these were precious, memories that would be cherished forever. For Maria, the ocean was more than just a playground. It was a sanctuary, a place of beauty and wonder that never ceased to amaze her. As she rode the waves alongside her daughter, She felt a profound gratitude for the gift of family and the simple joys life had to offer. Then, to her horror, Anna emerged from the water, only to be pulled back down again with alarming speed. Maria's heart leaped into her throat as she realized something was wrong. Ignoring the pounding of her own heart, she swiftly surfed towards her daughter, her maternal instincts kicking into overdrive. As Maria drew closer, her worst fears were realized. Anna was being dragged underwater by a shark, its jaws clamped firmly around her leg with deadly precision. Panic surged through Maria's veins as she watched helplessly, her mind racing with a desperate need to save her daughter. With every ounce of strength and determination, Maria propelled herself towards Anna, her heart pounding with fear and adrenaline. As she reached her daughter, she grabbed her tightly, trying desperately to free her from the shark's grip. But the shark was relentless, its mighty jaws refusing to release their hold on Anna's leg. Maria knew she needed to act fast to save her daughter from further harm. With no other option left, Maria seized her surfboard and swung it with all her might, aiming for the shark's head. The impact was swift and decisive, causing the shark to release its grip on Anna's leg momentarily. Seizing the opportunity, Maria pulled Anna towards her heart pounding with relief as she felt her daughter's arms wrapped tightly around her. Together, they made their way towards the shore, Maria's protective instincts kicking into overdrive as she shielded Anna from further harm. But before they could reach the safety of the shore, the shark launched itself towards them with terrifying speed, its jaws snapping dangerously close to Maria's calf. With a cry of pain, Maria stumbled backward, her leg throbbing with agony as she fought to protect her daughter from harm. Seeing his family in danger, Alejandro wasted no time rallying nearby tourists to their aid. With a collective effort, they rushed into the water, driving the shark away with shouts and splashes until it disappeared into the depths. Exhausted and shaken, Maria and Anna were quickly transported to the hospital, where they received urgent medical attention for their injuries. In the days that followed, as they lay in hospital beds thousands of miles away from home, Alejandro remained by their side, his love and support unwavering in the face of adversity. Despite their harrowing ordeal, the Araizos family remained grateful for their survival. As they began the long road to recovery, they knew that they would emerge from this experience more robust and more resilient than ever before. Their bond as a family unbreakable, despite even the most significant challenges. A dedicated night surfer, Lucas Mendez felt his soul tugged by the surf on a calm beach in Brazil. Lucas, 28, loved the ocean's gentle lapping against his board and found peace in the lap of the waves. He was a seasoned surfer with a lean body and years of experience in the water. But tonight, a strange unease crept in as he paddled under the moonlight. Lucas's board glided effortlessly through the water, and the moon cast a silver trail before him. While balancing himself to catch the perfect wave, his mind wandered back to his grandfather João, who taught him how to respect the ocean. With a twinkle of wisdom in his eyes, João Mendez would tell him, "The ocean is your friend and foe." The sound of waves breaking in the distance was all that could be heard, along with the occasional nightbird call. Lucas caught a big wave and felt the adrenaline rush every time he flew along the water. As he was about to see another wave return to the shore, his leg was suddenly jerked by a sharp, sudden tug. Panic erupted in his chest as he felt a mighty shark's grip. The attack was quick. Lucas struggled with all his strength as the shark's teeth penetrated his leg. His fists were driven by survival instinct as he punched the shark's rough skin. The shark let go of him after what seemed like an eternity. Lucas, awash in blood and shocked, clung to the board as he paddled to shore. The pain was pulsing through his body. The pain was excruciating. But his wife Maria and Sofia, their daughter, gave him the strength to continue. His cries for help broke the silence. Two people walking on the beach ran to his rescue. As they called an ambulance, Lucas replayed his attack, his fear, and how close he was to dying. The doctors were able to save the leg at the hospital, but the damage had been severe. Lucas was lying in his hospital bed, surrounded by his worried family, when he realized that the physical scars might heal, but the mental ones may never fade. His nights were filled with nightmares about dark waters, and he felt like he was being pulled down. Despite Maria's support, Lucas began to feel a growing distance between himself and the ocean. She sat beside him and held his hand, whispering encouraging words. Lucas started his physical therapy after a few weeks. When he first tried to stand up, lightning-like pain shot through his leg. He was still determined. He thought about his daughter's laugh and the promise that he made to himself to surf again. The psychological scars were deeper. Once a source of solace and happiness, the ocean now appeared as a vast, dangerous entity. Lucas realized he would have to confront his fears to feel whole again. He returned to the sea to not surf, but rather to sit and listen to it. Lucas sat in the sand and watched the waves crash, feeling fear and desire. He remembered his grandfather's words, that the sea teaches us more than we can imagine. Lucas decided to act on that thought. He wouldn't let the shark attack determine his life. He would surf under the moonlight to regain the connection he lost. This decision was the start of a new chapter for his recovery. It would force him to face the deepest fears he harbored. The months rolled by, and Lucas sat at the ocean's edge daily. He felt its pulse and rebuilt the bridge that separated him from the waters that had once cradled his body. The scars on his skin were a reminder of that fateful evening. His physical injuries healed. His emotional recovery took longer, with each step being met by nights of doubt and nightmares of shadowy figures under the moonlit sea. Lucas began to feel a stirring inside as the anniversary of the assault approached, a mixture of fear and defiance. Dr. Helena Sousa encouraged him to set an objective for the day, emphasizing the importance of facing his fears and celebrating his victory over them. Lucas knew exactly what he had to do. He would surf again not just to prove he could, but to reclaim the joy and freedom of surfing he once experienced. The preparation for the night started weeks in advance. Lucas began by taking small steps and wading in the shallow water, feeling the familiar touch of the ocean against his legs. Maria was there for him, always, and often joined him on the beach, where Sophia splashed around in the water, building sand castles. Her laughter soothed his frayed nerves. Lucas stood on the edge of Praia da Pipa Beach with his surfboard in his arms the night before the anniversary. The moon looked like a crescent of silver, just as it had when he had gone through his ordeal. He felt his heart pound with fear and an increasing sense of victory against the memories that had attempted to chain him. Lucas waded into the water. The familiar chill wrapped around him like a longtime friend. As he paddled, his muscles began remembering their old rhythm, and a calmness washed over him. He was no longer the man who was attacked. He was more robust and more resilient. Lucas paddled with determination and steadied his body as the first wave approached. He stood, balancing his weight with an ease that belied his rapid heartbeat. The wave lifted him like a giant gentleman. The small group of friends and family who supported him cheered as he rode to the shore. Lucas was relieved to return to the beach, feeling like the waves had lifted some of the darkness from him. He hugged Maria, whose presence had been a constant force on his turbulent journey. Sophia ran to him and wrapped her arms around his legs, her excitement evident in her actions. She looked up at him with eyes full of wonder and magic, imagining him surfing the moon. Lucas and his family sat around a small fire that night. The ocean seemed to them less like a monster than a friend who taught him an important lesson. The sea had forever changed him. He knew it would be a long road back to recovery. He also knew that each time he faced waves, he could regain a part of himself he thought he lost. Lucas Mendez's story, in which he faced the jaws and depths of his fears, will be told for many years at Praia da Pipa. His story is not only a story of survival, it's also a testament to how the human spirit can overcome and find renewal at the same place that brought it to its knees. Elena Martinez, an acclaimed photographer with a passion for the raw beauty of the natural world, embarked on a journey to the remote coasts of Norway. Her heart set on capturing the ethereal glow of the northern lights over the ocean. The allure of the aurora borealis, with its dance of colors against the night sky, had long captivated her imagination and beckoned her to this isolated part of the world. Equipped with her camera and a small rented boat, Elena ventured out into the frigid Arctic waters. It was a clear, crisp night, and the conditions were perfect. The silence of the surroundings, broken only by the gentle lapping of waves against the boat, created a serene backdrop for her photographic quest. As she adjusted her lens, the sky erupted in a symphony of greens and purples, a breathtaking display of nature's grandeur. In her awe, Elena leaned over the side of the boat, aiming for the perfect shot to capture the majestic beauty of the lights reflecting off the ocean's surface. However, she lost her balance in her intense focus and fell into the icy waters below. The shock of the cold was immediate and debilitating, her limbs becoming numb as she struggled to stay afloat. Then, in the haunting glow of the aurora, she realized she was not alone. A dark shape loomed beneath her, the unmistakable silhouette of a Greenland shark, one of the Arctic's most elusive predators. Elena's fascination with nature had always been tempered with respect for its power, but nothing could have prepared her for this. The shark circled, drawn by the disturbance in its quiet, dark world. Elena knew her chances of survival were slim. The cold was relentless, and the curious and perhaps hungry shark was an imminent threat. In a surreal battle for survival, she fought to keep her head above water, her movements deliberate to avoid provoking an attack. As the minutes stretched, Elena's struggle seemed futile against the ocean's vastness and its inhabitants' cold indifference. Yet even as she fought for her life, the beauty of the aurora overhead cast a surreal light on her ordeal, a stark contrast to the brutality of nature's reality. This moment, caught between the awe-inspiring display of the northern lights and the primal fear of the shark-infested waters, would mark the beginning of a story that tested Elena's will to survive, and her understanding of the delicate balance between humans and the natural world. As Elena Martinez fought to stay afloat in the icy waters, her survival instinct kicked in with a clarity she had never experienced. The Greenland shark, an ancient creature of the deep, continued its slow, ominous circling, its presence a constant threat. Yet amidst the fear, Elena's mind was surprisingly calm, focused on capturing every detail of this surreal encounter. She understood the rarity of this moment, even as she feared it might be her last. In a desperate bid for survival, Elena slowly moved towards the boat, her movements measured to avoid provoking the shark. Her photography equipment was lost to the depths, but her life still hung in the balance, tethered to the hope of reaching safety. The cold gnawed at her, sapping her strength, yet the lights above continued to weave their ethereal tapestry, a silent witness to her struggle. Miraculously, the shark eventually lost interest, disappearing into the dark waters, leaving Elena in her solitary fight against hypothermia. When she reached the boat, her muscles were numb. Her movements were almost mechanical. With the last ounce of her strength, she climbed back into the ship, her breaths coming in ragged gasps. She lay there for hours, staring at the aurora, a vivid reminder of nature's indifferent beauty. Elena's rescue came at dawn, and she was spotted by a Norwegian Coast Guard patrol alerted by her overdue rental. The news of her ordeal spread quickly, capturing the public's imagination. But for Elena, the experience was transformative. She had come face to face with one of the ocean's most mysterious creatures and survived. The encounter under the spellbinding northern lights was a stark reminder of the vulnerability and resilience of life on this planet. Months later, Elena's story, detailed in her own words and through the lens of her experience, inspired an award-winning documentary. The film explored not only the harrowing tale of her survival, but also delved into the life of the Greenland shark, highlighting the impact of climate change on these ancient creatures and their habitat. Her ordeal became a powerful narrative that brought attention to the lesser-known species of the shark world and the urgent need for environmental conservation. The documentary, blending stunning visuals of the aurora borealis with the dark, hidden world of the Greenland shark, captivated audiences worldwide. It raised questions about humanity's relationship with nature, the importance of understanding and respecting the wild, and the need for urgent action to address climate change. Elena, once a photographer chasing the beauty of the world, had become a voice for its preservation. Her encounter beneath the northern lights had been a battle for survival and a call to action, a reminder of the delicate balance between humans and the natural world. Her story, a vivid testament to the power of nature and the human spirit, continued to inspire long after the final credits rolled, urging all who heard it to look beyond the surface and preserve the planet's majestic yet vulnerable wonders. James Harrison, a seasoned diver with over 30 years of experience exploring the depths of the world's oceans, had chosen the Great Barrier Reef for his final dive before retirement. It was a sunny morning in 2001, and the Australian coast was as inviting as ever, with the clear blue waters promising a memorable exit from his professional diving career. James had seen it all, from the hauntingly beautiful wrecks in the Bermuda Triangle to the vibrant coral gardens of the Red Sea. Yet the Great Barrier Reef held a special place in his heart. He had completed his first dive here, and it felt fitting to end his career in the same waters that had sparked his lifelong passion. As he prepared for the dive, James felt a mix of emotions. Excitement at the prospect of one last adventure mingled with melancholy. Diving was not just a job. It had been his life, defining his relationship with the world and the people closest to him. Today, though, he looked forward to the quiet reflection underwater, a chance to reminisce and appreciate the beauty of the reef one last time. James plunged into the water, the familiar cool embrace enveloping him. He descended slowly, taking in the vibrant colors and the teeming life of the reef. Schools of fish swam by, unperturbed by his presence, while a sea turtle glided gracefully in the distance. It was a peaceful, serene world, far removed from the troubles of the surface. But tranquility turned to terror in an instant. A massive shadow loomed over him, and before he could react, a sharp pain erupted in his side. A shark, drawn by the commotion of his dive, had attacked, its mighty jaws clamping down. Years of experience kicked in as James fought to keep his composure. He knew that panicking would only exacerbate the situation. James pushed against the shark using all his strength, trying to leverage his dive knife as a defense. Surprised by the resistance, the shark momentarily loosened its grip, giving James a narrow window to escape. He propelled himself upwards, using his flippers to gain distance from the predator. Blood clouded the water, starkly contrasting the pristine beauty around him. James's mind raced. He needed to reach the surface to escape the water, but he knew the shark might follow. Drawing on his years of diving experience and knowledge of shark behavior, he made slow, deliberate movements, trying not to attract further attention. The ascent felt agonizingly slow, each second stretching out as James kept a vigilant watch for the shark. Fortunately, the creature did not pursue it. The relief was palpable as he broke the surface, gasping for air, but so was the pain. The attack had left him wounded, blood seeping from his side. A stark reminder of the encounter's ferocity. Rescue came swiftly. Having monitored the dive, his team rushed to his aid, pulling him aboard the boat. As they administered first aid, James lay back, the adrenaline fading, leaving behind a cocktail of pain and reflection. This dive, meant to be a celebratory last venture, had turned into a life-threatening ordeal, forcing him to confront the very essence of his existence. Lying there with the sun beating down and waves gently rocking the boat, James Harrison found himself at a crossroads. The shark attack, while a physical battle, had unearthed more profound questions about his life choices, relationships, and the legacy he wanted to leave behind. This final dive, though ending in violence, had cracked open the door to introspection and, ultimately, transformation. The diver who had entered the water that morning was not the same man now contemplating his future. As James Harrison lay on the deck of the boat, the pain from his wounds and the weight of his thoughts merged into a haze of introspection. The attack had not only shaken his physical foundation, but it also plunged him into deep reflection about the path his life had taken. With its unparalleled beauty and hidden dangers, the Great Barrier Reef had been the stage for this pivotal moment, marking the end of his professional journey and the beginning of something entirely new. In the days following the attack, as his physical wounds began to heal, James found himself grappling with a tumult of emotions. Regret for the times his career had taken precedence over his relationships. Gratitude for the adventures and the silent, majestic worlds he'd been a part of. And a burgeoning resolve to change the trajectory of his life. James realized that retirement didn't have to signify the end of his connection with the ocean. Instead, it could offer a new beginning, an opportunity to advocate for preserving the underwater realms he had so often explored. Rather than instilling fear, the shark attack ignited a genuine passion for protecting these creatures and their habitat. He began to see the encounter not as an assault, but as a powerful message from the ocean urging him to act. With renewed purpose, James set out to share his story, not as a tale of survival, but as a testament to the profound bond between humans and the marine environment. He partnered with conservation groups, lending his voice and experience to campaigns to safeguard the oceans. His first-hand account of the shark attack and subsequent journey of recovery and enlightenment resonated with people, drawing attention to the delicate balance of marine ecosystems. James also reconnected with his family, mending bridges that had frayed over years of absence. His experiences, especially the recent brush with death, had taught him the value of time and the importance of cherishing the moments with loved ones. Together, they embarked on projects that supported marine conservation, combining their efforts to make a tangible impact. Perhaps most significantly, James became involved in educational initiatives, teaching young divers about respecting marine life and advocating for safe, responsible diving practices. He shared his knowledge of the sea as a diver and a protector, encouraging a new generation to explore the oceans with awe and reverence. James Harrison felt a profound sense of peace as he stood on the shore of the Great Barrier Reef again, watching the sun dip below the horizon. With its endless mysteries and ancient wisdom, the ocean had been his greatest challenge and teacher. In confronting his mortality, he had discovered a deeper purpose. Though the last dive ended in violence, it opened the door to a journey of personal transformation and advocacy. James found his calling in the aftermath, dedicating himself to protecting the creatures that had once threatened his life. In this commitment to conservation and education, he had forged a legacy far beyond the depths he had explored as a diver. The shark attack, a moment of peril, had become a pivotal point in James's life, steering him towards environmental stewardship and personal growth. As the waves gently lapped at his feet, he realized this was not an end but a new beginning, a second dive into a life filled with purpose, passion, and the pursuit of harmony with the natural world. Sarah Jennings sat on the deck of a dive boat with her eyes fixed on the glistening Great Barrier Reef. The shimmering reflections of the sun on the water starkly contrasted with the turmoil within her. 3 years had passed since a shark bite during routine diving had almost cost her a limb and stolen her peace. After countless operations and more therapy sessions, she was now here to reclaim the part of her that the ocean had taken. Sarah, a 26-year-old marine biologist, had always sought solace in the depths. The attack happened on a bright, promising day. The pain, blood, and fear were vivid in her memory. Her world was shattered, and she had to rebuild it painfully, one step at a time. Under her wetsuit were the physical scars, but they were just as visible as before. She did not make this decision lightly. Her therapist encouraged Sarah, and her dive team supported her in facing her fears. She was aware of the statistics that shark attacks are rare. But the fear wasn't about statistics. It was personal and traumatic. She was about to face it. Sarah's heart was racing as the boat approached the dive site. Through the mask, she could hear herself breathing, a mixture of dread and determination filling her. Mike, the dive master, gave her a nod of encouragement. He reassured her that she could take her time, indicating she should be ready only when she felt ready, his voice steady and comforting. Sarah took a deep breath and stepped up to the edge. The deep blue waters held her deepest fears and passions. After one last look at her supportive friends, she let herself go into the ocean. Water enveloped her in a coolness she had known and found comforting. The sounds of the world above her faded as she sank, replaced by the rhythmic sound from her breathing and the gentle hum from the sea. Coral reefs were vibrant and alive. Fish darted between them, their vibrant colors reminding her why she fell in love with them in the first place. Sarah felt her anxiety lift with each meter of descent. Her dive partner, Mike's careful observation from above, and her concentration on the dive helped to push away the anxiety. She let herself be mesmerized by the graceful glide of a turtle, the swaying sea anemones, and the sleek, unthreatening form of a minor reef shark. The dive was more than a return to work. It was also a journey to find herself. The reef, a place of trauma and beauty, symbolized Sarah's resilience. Sarah knew that the dive wouldn't erase her trauma, but it was an essential step to living with it. It also testified to her courage and a bridge towards her recovery. Sarah's connection to the coral reef was more vital than ever as she gently touched a delicate coral. The underwater world that was once a source of terror now became a source of healing and wondered in Sarah's life. Her return was more than just a dive. It was also about finding a balance between her memories and reality. This dive was her statement that she wouldn't let fear define her relationship with the ocean. Sarah Jennings grew more empowered with each minute spent underwater. Her fears started to melt as the Great Barrier Reef surrounded her. The salt water mingled with her fear in a cathartic release. She watched as the school of parrotfish nibbled on the algae-covered reef, their movements calm and purposeful. Sarah discovered a metaphor in the ocean's depths for her life, a process of recovery and growth, even when faced with adversity. Sarah swam closer to the coral bommy as she progressed in her dive. This popular gathering place for marine life captivated her with its vibrant colors and bustling activity. Sarah felt her traumas begin to lift as she watched a tiny octopus ingeniously disguise itself among the rocks. She no longer just survived. She lived fully and totally in the present. She was now indifferent to the presence of a reef shark, which had previously filled her with fear. It moved with effortless grace. Its sleek body cut through the water with precision. Sarah watched from a distance, her heart calm and her mind clear. Like the shark that attacked Sarah, this shark was an underwater creature, not a monster out to destroy. Sarah's perception changed when she realized this. Sarah realized that the ocean was not something to be feared, but a dynamic ecosystem in which every creature, including her, had a part to play. Sarah told her friend that the dive was coming to an end. The two slowly ascended to the surface, stopping at intervals to decompress. Sarah inhaled deeply when her head broke the surface. The fresh air tasted sweeter than before. She removed her mask to see the vast ocean that surrounded her. Her fear of the sea, which had previously overshadowed her love for it, diminished. It was a distant memory compared to the vivid reality of her victory. Her team congratulated and praised her, their faces bright with relief and pride. Mike smiled broadly and clapped Sarah on the back, warmly welcoming her back, indicating they had missed her presence underwater. Sarah's return was more than a personal triumph. It reverberated in her community. Other divers who had suffered similar traumas reached out to Sarah. Sarah's story sparked an in-depth discussion about the psychological impacts of such encounters and the importance of facing one's fear. She began working with a local dive school to create a program to help divers overcome their fear of diving by combining psychological counseling with gradual exposure. The program gained rapid attention and attracted divers worldwide who wanted to rediscover their love of the ocean. Sarah's position as a diving mentor and mental health advocate was solidified. Her own experiences enhanced the advice she gave. She participated in conferences and discussions on shark conservation and spoke about the importance of understanding and respecting these misunderstood animals. Sarah reflected on her experience years later with gratitude and a sense of accomplishment. She had overcome her fears by returning to the coral reef, but she also started a movement encouraging resilience and healing. She had lost a lot, but the ocean gave her back much more than she ever imagined. She had a new relationship with the ocean, defined by respect, an understanding of the sea, and a firm belief in the human spirit's ability to adapt and overcome. Her legacy was woven into the fabric and endless waters of the ocean and the diving community. In the quaint coastal town of Monterey, California, young Sarah grew up surrounded by the salty sea air and the mesmerizing sights of the Pacific Ocean. From a young age, her parents, David and Elizabeth, instilled in her a deep love and respect for the ocean, taking her on frequent trips to explore the tide pools and sandy beaches that bordered their hometown. David would regale Sarah with tales of his adventures at sea, recounting thrilling encounters with majestic whales and elusive dolphins. Meanwhile, Elizabeth, a gentle soul passionate about marine conservation, would teach Sarah about the delicate balance of ocean ecosystems and the importance of protecting marine life for future generations. Inspired by her parents' love for the ocean, Sarah spent her childhood exploring every nook and cranny of the coastal landscape, her curiosity piqued by the myriad creatures that called the ocean home. She spent countless hours combing the shores for seashells and observing the intricate dance of tide pool creatures, her fascination growing with each discovery. As she grew older, Sarah's passion for marine life only intensified. She knew from a young age that she wanted to dedicate her life to studying the ocean and its inhabitants. Encouraged by her parents, she pursued her dreams with unwavering determination, excelling in her studies and immersing herself in all things marine biology. Upon graduating from high school, Sarah set her sights on pursuing a degree in marine biology at a prestigious institution. With her parents' unwavering support, she packed her bags and bid farewell to her childhood home, eager to embark on the next chapter of her journey. At the institute, Sarah enthusiastically threw herself into her studies, immersing herself in a world of scientific exploration and discovery. Under the guidance of esteemed professors, she delved into the intricacies of marine biology, studying everything from microscopic plankton to massive whales. However, during her graduate studies, Sarah's passion truly ignited as she delved into the world of shark research. Fascinated by these enigmatic creatures, she dedicated herself to unraveling the mysteries of their behavior and ecology, determined to shed light on their often misunderstood lives. For her PhD dissertation, Sarah embarked on an ambitious research project, aiming to study the elusive sharks that roam the remote waters of the Pacific Ocean. Armed with a thirst for knowledge and a spirit of adventure, she set out on an expedition to one of the most isolated islands in the region, determined to uncover the secrets of its underwater inhabitants. As Sarah arrived on the pristine shores of the Pacific Island, she was greeted by the warm embrace of the tropical breeze and the rhythmic lull of the waves. With her research equipment in tow, she wasted no time getting to work, setting up camp on the beach, and preparing to dive into the azure depths below. Over the following months, Sarah devoted herself wholeheartedly to her research, spending long days and nights tracking the movements of the island's shark population. Armed with underwater cameras and tracking devices, she observed their behavior keenly and meticulously documented their movements and interactions. One fateful day, while exploring a series of underwater caves nestled among the rugged cliffs of a secluded island, Sarah made a discovery that would change the course of her expedition. Hidden within the shadows of a dark cavern, she encountered a species of shark unlike any she had ever seen. Sleek and muscular, with razor-sharp teeth and an unmistakable air of aggression, it prowled the depths with a predatory grace that sent shivers down her spine. Determined to learn more about this enigmatic creature, Sarah cautiously approached, her heart pounding with excitement and trepidation. Using her underwater camera, she captured footage of the shark's behavior, noting its hunting tactics and territorial instincts. But as she delved deeper into the cave, disaster struck. A sudden rock slide sealed the entrance to the cavern, trapping her deep beneath the surface with only a dwindling supply of oxygen to sustain her. Panic threatened to engulf her as she realized the gravity of her situation. Still, she forced herself to remain calm, drawing upon her years of training and experience as a marine biologist. With her mind racing, Sarah assessed her surroundings, searching for any possible means of escape. The formidable shark fixed its predatory gaze upon her with unerring intensity. At that moment, she knew that her only chance of survival was outsmarting the creature that now shared her underwater prison. Drawing upon her knowledge of marine biology, Sarah began to formulate a plan. She observed the shark's behavior, noting its patterns and vulnerabilities, and identified potential weaknesses that she could exploit to gain the upper hand. With each passing moment, her oxygen supply dwindled further, urging her to act swiftly and decisively. As the shark tries to approach her, Sarah also makes sure she moves from her previous position. That's when the shark leaves the opening, and Sarah escapes. But just as victory seemed within reach, disaster struck once again. Enraged by her escape, the shark launched a relentless counterattack, its powerful jaws snapping at her heels with ferocious intent, but missed. Desperate and running out of options, Sarah frantically swims towards the vessel. With her oxygen supply dangerously low and her strength waning, Sarah propelled herself towards the surface with all the determination and resolve she could muster. As she broke free from the suffocating embrace of the ocean depths, she quickly removed her oxygen and gasped for air, her chest heaving with exhaustion and relief. As Sarah clung to the safety of the research vessel, she knew that her encounter with the aggressive shark had been a harrowing ordeal that had tested her courage and resourcefulness in ways she had never imagined. But amidst the chaos and danger, She had also discovered a newfound sense of strength and resilience, a reminder of the indomitable spirit that lay within her as a scientist and explorer of the natural world.